The Portage Terriers are set to host the Centennial Cup this year. Missed the playoffs by a single point last year. Really good down the stretch. Now, some of those players will be coming back. Some have already moved on, like goaltender Chris Fines. Mason also been moved as well. Kevin, the Portage Terriers, they face the most pressure this year for any team being the host. Do you think they start off a certain way, or do you think they kind of build throughout the year, knowing that the end goal is more important than maybe the start of this year?
I think you're right, Dave. And I've been talking a bit about it with some of the other folks around. And obviously we talked about being a destination for players to want to go, and where better could you be than the team that's guaranteed a berth in the Centennial Cup. So I think that would be the case throughout the course of the year, without obviously being in Blake Spiller's head. But I assume that's where they'll go. And you look with their body of work in years past, they've been very good at procurement through skill and additions throughout the course of a year. They have a championship pedigree as well. I think Portage will be a desirable place to play for a lot of guys. And depending on where things shake out throughout the course of this Manitoba Junior Hockey League season, you could see a bit of a flow heading towards Portage. I think that could be the case. I think that's a very good example of what could happen.
Darnell, we've seen it time and time again. It's hard to build a team on the fly. Obviously, the Terriers will have an idea of what they want to do and kind of how they want to play leading up, but it is hard to build a team on the fly. Just talk about the importance of chemistry, bringing a bunch of guys together if they do, in fact, keep adding throughout the year leading up to the deadline. Just talk about chemistry and how important it is for a run coming off of what will be hopefully a good Manitoba showcase for the Centennial Cup.
Yeah, chemistry is absolutely massive. And that's why you almost, as you go on throughout the season, when it comes to trade deadline, you're going to add a couple of top end players that are going to be able to mesh into the mold that has been built throughout the season. But I think Blake Spiller and the Terriers have done a pretty good start to try and set that mold. Guys like Jamie Valentino, they brought in Raynon Joseph from Sherwood Park. He's 6'5" on the back end, a tower of a human being. Kean Calder, of course, brother of Logan Calder, who is a former Portage Terrier, won a title with them, and then Bailey Monteith in net, who was picked up from the Verdun Oil Capitals. So I think this is a Terriers team that they're going to come out strong. They're going to continue to get better and better. They're going to add a couple of pieces at the trade deadline, as do pretty much every single team that hosts a national championship. But I think if you can have more players that are going to be there for the entire show at the start of the season, get that chemistry, get that bond, that's going to be that much more beneficial for your organization than if you just, you start with a bunch of players and then you bring in a bunch of new players at the trade deadline. Egos come into the room. That's one of the biggest thing. Egos when you're bringing in 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds who think maybe they should be in the top six. Ultimately, maybe they're not in that position, but they're all battling for it. So I think Blake Spiller has a pretty unique opportunity here to obviously host a national championship. He's been in this spot, it seems like, a million times because the Terriers are oh so good every year. I think this is a Portage team that nearly made the playoffs last year. I think it was the first time they missed it since like the 70s or maybe 80s, which is absolutely absurd. That just goes to show how good this program is. The fan support is always awesome in Terrier land. So I think this is a team that's destined for greatness, and they're going to be a good team from start to finish.